A shitty video, and it's the first video with my voice. Uh, Basically, I'm just going to show you how to install SCP Containment Breach multiplayer mod. Well, it's a pretty good mod. I played it before. Now first you're gonna have to do is go to these two websites, a mega website that you have to download the SCP multiplayer mod.zip. This basically gives you SCP multiplayer and a very buggy. So I don't recommend playing. It does gives you a version with SCP containment breach. Like this does come with SCP containment breach, but I recommend playing the original version. Download it from the website rather than this one. And you're also going to have to download this Google Drive. To download the Google Drive, you gotta hit this button. Not many people actually know that. After downloading both of them, I have already done so, they're here. Now what you want to do is make a random file. Let's just put folder SCP CB multiplayer there. And you want to take both of them, but first where the fuck did I put it? Yeah, here. First you want to take, I'm gonna open another version of File Explorer so it's easier. First you want to take SCP multiplayer mod, this one. Oh, keep in mind you do need WinRAR for this one. This does not work without WinRAR. I'm not sure if it works with 7-zip, but you do need WinRAR. You just wanna get SCP Containment Breach Multiplayer Pod 1.13.11. Sorry if I'm stuttering. You gotta extract this to the folder you created. So in my case, my C drive, SCP-CB multiplayer, and just extract it. This should extract the game itself onto the folder, but not the multiplayer, as this is an outdated version. After you've done so, you don't do the same with scp-multiplayer.var because the creator, like, he didn't put it in a folder, so it's an entire mess here. Now, I'm pretty sure there's another way you can do this that is much simpler, but I'm not sure, and this is the way that worked for me. So basically you want to take it, you want to copy, and wherever you want, you just create a random folder. I'm just going to call it extract SCP mod. Take this folder, don't open it, move it into the extract SCP mod. Right click, and you want to click extract here. This should extract everything into this area. Now you want to delete this RAR file that you extracted, or put it somewhere else. You want to make sure that it's not in the folder. Then you take all of this and go to your folder where you extracted the original game. And here the basic thing you want to do is grab all of this and just drop it in here. Wait, I don't want to. Don't want to put it in another fucking folder. Wait. So you basically gotta grab this, extract it, and put it in here. After that, it should do something like this. Now, if it asks you to replace files. You gotta make sure you hit replace files. Other than that, it's going to fuck up the entire thing. After that, everything should have worked. Now, to host your server, there are two ways. You can either create a dedicated server, or you can host your server inside the game. Dedicated servers run better, but are much harder to create. If you want to create a dedicated server, I recommend searching up a tutorial on YouTube, because I know how to create a server, but it's pretty complicated and it involves personal details, so I don't recommend doing it. I mean, I'm not going to do it. What the fuck I'm saying. Either way, After everything's complete, you can start the game. Now you gotta make sure you hit SCP multiplayer mod and not SCP containment breach multiplayer, because this is the outdated version. You hit this one, and if you experience lag issues or other problems, you can run it as an administrator. I don't recommend running it if you don't have any problems. Now, if you have done everything correctly, you should be able to start the game and you should be able to play. For my PC, this is what I recommend using. I recommend using borderless windowed. I recommend using 1280 by 720 resolution and not enabling any of these. Using launcher is also recommended, because in case you want to mess around with your resolution or settings, what I don't recommend doing is like that's when you should have this enabled. If not, you should still have it enabled, because the launcher is pretty useful. And here we are. You can click multiplayer and here are some servers. Now, if you don't know how to host or create a server, I recommend just joining a public one, because there's very little chance of anybody joining. But if you do want to host a server, you can either use a dedicated server or you can host this server. However, as it shows, this mode is buggy. Hosting a server will give you a seed, a name you can choose, and a password if you want. I don't recommend enabling intro sequence because it's extremely buggy. You can screw around with any of these stuff, and you gotta make sure that you remember the port, because if you host a server and you want your friends to join you, they can do either two things. They can either, never mind, they can only do one thing. They can direct connect. What in that case, it will require an IP and a port. Now, if you don't know what's your IP, I'll tell you. I'll tell you how to get your IP. If you're running Windows, and this is only on Windows, I'm not sure how it works on Mac or Linux, you go to the search bar down here, or you can open up with the start and go down to the Windows system, and you have to type in CMD. But basically gives you the command prompt. After getting to the command prompt, you want to type in ipconfig and hit enter. That will show you your IP. I will not hit it here because I'm not dumb and I'm not going to show my IP. But that's how you get your IP. It's the default gateway, by the way. After you've done it, where it says go to IP, you gotta paste the IP in that you sent to your friends, and your friends also need to paste in the port that was put there. Now don't change the port because it's going to mess with everything. And if you've done all of this, the game should work.